Happy New Year, everyone. And to be quite honest, well, since that I did my top 20 Worst SpongeBob list episodes 2 years ago, and I really got nothing else to do for this month, well, other than reviewing live action stuff. But then again, I have second thoughts on that. I decided to do a month involving reviewing five specials from SpongeBob. Well, four, but the last one at the end of this month will be a surprise. So this is going to be a dedication to Steven Hillenburg, constantly, kind of, but not completely. This is just mainly going to be reviewing bad episodes from the post-movie era, if you call it that. So I'm going to be reviewing Atlantis Squarepantis first, and then I'm going to review three other specials before I get into, well, the surprise will have to wait. So anyway, Atlantis Squarepantis. This is one of the worst specials from any other show I've ever seen. And for the reason that it's from SpongeBob really shows. This special is completely 11 years old, and well, at the time, well, SpongeBob is at its 20th anniversary. And even by this time, I still couldn't get used to SpongeBob. I still cannot stand it. Sorry. Anyway, I'm not going to be talking about the story. I think it's just something I should have done a while ago because it takes up a lot of time, and I'm actually getting sick of completely talking about the story. I am going to talk about the story in some occasions when I review episodes, but for stuff like this, I'm just going to discuss onto why I don't like Atlantis Squarepantis. Let me just point this out that I'm a fan of SpongeBob even by 2007, which was the time this special came out. And to be quite honest, I was actually kind of happy that my bigger brother, yeah, I have two brothers, completely bought the DVD with me along with some other SpongeBob episodes. But then again, it was during a time when we were kids and we didn't know better, and, well, apparently shows like SpongeBob during this time was starting to go downhill. Yeah, the seasons 4 and 5 were considered mediocre, but season 5 is when everything completely went deep into the ocean, if you know what I mean. And this is by far one of the worst things that ever came out of the post-movie era. Let me just point out that there could have been a lot, that having an episode involving Atlantis is a very great idea. I mean, we saw Neptune, a different version of Neptune in the movie, and now we have this. However, the biggest difference of the times we hear Atlantis in this show, mainly the Neptune episodes, they're always in Rome, like kind of ancient Rome that is supposed to be like Atlantis. However, when you completely watch this, it's just, you have no idea what they were thinking when they made the special. Sure, they did make a video on it's supposed to be the greatest ideal ever. However, their ideal turns out to be one of the most worst ideals ever. Why? Let me just point out on the design they had to do on Atlantis. This is just completely wrong in so many levels. I mean, it is good to look at, but it's the wrong design for Atlantis. Here's the thing. Atlantis isn't an alien, futuristic Atlantis, because it really doesn't even fit for the situation that the characters are in. And what makes this even more worse is that when you watch this entire special, all the characters do is just walk around saying, I'll get to that later, walk around saying, walk around saying, walk around insane, and then they meet the most prized possession, which is by far one of the worst ideas that these writers have done. Let me just clarify that there's so many writers who wrote this episode. It's really impossible to think that a show that became so popular couldn't think of any original ideas, and this is the best that they come up with. Why is this a big issue? Well, Steven Hillenburg, who completely was wanted the show to end when the first movie came out, Nickelodeon decided to continue it. And you know what? I'm siding with Hillbug on this one. In my opinion, the only reason why SpongeBob is still continuing even to this day, which was 14 years after the first movie, was because it's a cash grab, and it's literally the only reason why Nickelodeon hasn't shut down. Believe me, Nickelodeon has completely fallen from grace in 2005 or 2007. I really cannot stand on how they had to think up so many ideas of what they can do with SpongeBob and let them just stealing ideas and doing something very, very brutal. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go check my top 25 worst SpongeBob episodes, despite it being an hour long. Okay, let me just get the premise out of the way. SpongeBob and Patrick found an amulet, which is called the Atlantic amulet, and then when they put both pieces together, a huge beam and a bus, a flame bus or whatever you call it, and they take them by singing, and they went to Atlantis. And then for the majority of this, the characters just go to places and then they just stay there while also singing a song. You pretty much know what this is. They completely rip off Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. However, unlike in that world, the kids just get completely tortured for their selfish desires. Well, apparently, they just stay there, enjoying it. That's it. That's literally the only change they did. And it still isn't passable. When people were waiting to see the premiere of this special, they wanted to see something very unique and very amazing of what the characters can do. In this, however, they completely did it for the wrong reasons. Seriously. And the biggest problem with this singing thing is that all the songs in this are just completely poorly executed. Now, there are times where SpongeBob can sing a song in one of the episodes. However, they don't completely sing all the time. There's a reason why we have minimum songs in SpongeBob SquarePants, so they can put more time and effort. However, with this, there's like probably 6 or 7 songs, and almost all of them are really poorly lyricked and completely poorly executed. It doesn't even help that most of the characters can't even sing. Yeah. The lyrics are so bad that even the people who are singing them, yes, I'm not kidding, most of the voice actors completely sing the songs. It's just really difficult to sit through them. It really does, and it really completely hurts the special when there's so many musical numbers that aren't even worth listening to. However, there was only one song that I actually enjoy, and that's the Sand Cheek song. Why? Because it's actually kind of techno, and it's kind of catchy, to be honest, and the music is probably the only thing I actually like about this song. Sure, the lyrics are completely terrible, but it's probably the least worst out of the entire special. But other than that, everything else is just really bad. Really, really bad. In fact, nobody even expected this to be a musical to begin with. What makes this really worse is that the actor who is playing Lord Royal Highness is David Bowie, who is a great singer. And the sad thing is that he doesn't sing once throughout this entire special. So you make this a musical, and you have a very talented singer who can sing, but you didn't even allow him to sing, instead being an actor voicing a character. I mean, if you're going to have actors with different talents like singing, at least have them at least sing for the most part. This is just really one of the most difficult things to actually see a talent get wasted. And believe me, they have brought so many talents in the show that they'll really waste it for the wrong reasons. Believe me. It gets a lot worse when I review another special 2 weeks later. Now let's get into something that is even more stupid, and that is the oldest living bubble. Now, Lord Royal Highness says that this bubble was completely traveled, his people completely traveled millions of light years to capture a bubble, and apparently I just don't understand how this is supposed to be special. In fact, bubbles are really common. This is really one of the most difficult things to actually believe that the oldest living bubble is very valuable in the world of Atlantis. Why? Because, for one, Willie, it's not a paw or something. I mean, if it was an extremely rare paw and it's completely breakable, instead of using a picture, taking a picture and it pops, yeah, it keeps happening in this special for some reason, then maybe I can easily accept it, because at least paws come from the ocean, but bubbles are really common. This is really the most difficult things that these wise can easily do. I mean, they could easily think of the whale's paw, but they just had to think of, nope, let's just do an oldest living bubble. And the fact that they actually treat Atlantis as a museum, it's really obvious that Atlantis isn't really difficult to find in this universe of SpongeBob. And if you want to make things even more confusing, they even put Plankton in this special. And I completely say that because they just throw in Plankton in there. There's no background onto how Plankton knows anything about Atlantis, and they completely don't even know, and we don't even get a chance to understand how he completely got into the bus that the other characters did. Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest reasons onto why I think that at this point, Plankton has no reason to be here other than filler. I mean, he gets a song, which is probably one of the worst out of this entire special. And then towards the end, he just gets he's forced to stay here because, well, the Lord Roy High say that, well, he's way better than a bubble. Planktons are completely common in the sea. So you mean to tell me that that the bubble can be easily replaceable by a zooplankton? You can really understand on why there's so many whales writing so many episodes in the post-movie era of SpongeBob. Okay, let's get into the patchy let's get into the patchy stuff. If you remember my Christmas Who review, he can be sometimes tolerable, but here he's just there for nothing else to do. No, Willie. In the beginning of this special, he wanted to watch the Atlantis Squarepantis special, but apparently he gets lost in the middle of the desert. And then for some reason, he completely explained on what the special is going to be like. You know, if he actually went home and watched the special and we watched the SpongeBob special, then maybe we could have watched the actual special of what it's supposed to be, like Atlantis being warm and stuff like that. But the fact that he pretty much made it up, I got a feeling that this entire special is just in his imagination. Imagination. Sorry, but that excuse doesn't work here. To be honest, there's really nothing else to talk about Patchy other than that there's a dream sequence, he's in the middle of the desert, and then aliens decide to whip off Wizard of Oz and completely turn Encino back to normal. Except that Patchy is turned into a giant for no other reason. Yeah, do you see how lackluster and completely terrible this special is? Even the ending is completely forced and rushed when Patrick completely took a picture of the real oldest living bubble because he's an idiot, and everyone had to run away. In the fight scenes, it's just that Sandy completely used the other characters for weapons. Yeah, I really found that stupid, but at this point, they're really doing stupid things to have this show continued. And then towards the end, it just reveals that the cannon that Plankton was using can shoot ice cream. You know what? At this point, whoever made this Atlantis version really needs to think of what they're supposed to do that actually involves Atlantis. I can't even tolerate of how terrible and poorly executed this special is. When you have a cannon completely shoot ice cream and completely having so many songs that really isn't supposed to be part of a special like this, and the fact that the story is a whip-off of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And even though this special is completely 11 years old, it doesn't even excuse of it. I know we're into a time where SpongeBob is back to normal and got his groove back, but at this point, for anyone who's just pretty much moved on from this show because it shouldn't have ended in 2004, I'm one of those people. Believe me, I've watched so many specials and reviews of people completely talking about how terrible SpongeBob has become in the post-movie era. And I think that after I released my top 25 worst SpongeBob episodes, I really didn't want to waste my time reviewing any more SpongeBob material that is considered terrible. I mean, good episodes from the pre-movie era, yeah, I can do that. But post-movie, not really. And believe me, I really think that if you guys are going to tune in for my future reviews of SpongeBob specials, you might understand on what I feel about SpongeBob in general nowadays. Anyway, I give Atlantis Squarepantis a 3 out of 10. Believe me, I can't even sit through the special anymore. It's just really painful to watch, and it's just difficult to actually see this special the way it used to be when we were little kids. Anyway, 1 down, 4 more to go.